Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. New Life Live is dedicated to transforming lives one at a time, thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Hi there, welcome to New Life Live. I'm glad you're with us here today, closing up, coming in on the end of May. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it. Well, let me welcome in Dr. Jill Hubbard and Dr. Alice Benton. Hi guys.
Hi Steve.
Hey folks.
It's great to be on with you two, and I hope and pray that something we have to say is going to change somebody's life today. But let me just tell you this, I can't believe, here it is, summer, coming on summer. It's going to be the weirdest summer anybody has ever experienced. I said before, we're going to be in the swimming pool with scuba gear on. It's going to be great, but it's going to be different. Get ready for really a very interesting time. And I hope and pray that all of you folks out there are going to stay safe and sane. And anybody can call us anytime if you need us. What I'm going to do is go right to our phones, right off the bat, and get started with Denise. She's calling from St. Louis, Missouri, and she listens online. Denise, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for taking my call.
Certainly. What's going on in your life today?
I'm a longtime listener. I actually called your show back in 2011 when my husband passed suddenly. And I find myself, here we are coming up on Memorial Day, and just this past January, the end of January, I visited my father, and a week later I got that dreaded phone call that not only had he passed, but he had been murdered that morning.
No.
How? What happened?
Wow.
My nephew was apparently there, and they believe they have him in custody, that he did it. He was high on acid, and it had been a first trip that he had ever done. And with the pandemic, he is sitting in jail, and we've not progressed forward in anything to do with the case. My father's viewing and everything, this was right before the pandemic, so we were able to have a viewing, but his body was so brutally hurt that it had to be a closed casket. And
wow, I'm so sorry.
It's horrific.
I'm in counseling, and this is not my first walk with death, but I don't know why I called. And when it popped up on my thing that you guys were going live today, I started to listen again, and I just thought, I'm going to reach out. I don't know what you could possibly tell me that I don't already know.
Well, I could tell you this, something that you already do know, maybe, is that you have survived some pretty tough times, having a husband that died unexpectedly, right?
Yes.
So when I tell you it's going to always be different, it's different. And now it's going to be different. But it's not always going to be as painful. You know that that's true. You did get better, even though nothing ever reverts back to the same. So you know that.
I don't even know how to move forward, and I feel like with the situation, we're on hold with it, worse than normal.
Yeah. Well, what are you hoping happens with your nephew?
If they can prove, and I believe they're holding him, I believe that they're going to have there's enough evidence, I believe. I just had a niece ask me this morning, and honestly, I guess 25 years, but I would like him to see, I'd like to see him get help. He has Asperger's and had not been taking his medication.
I was skeptical going into it.
Temptation is up, isolation is up. It's the very things that feed addiction.
Every day, thousands of women discover their husband is struggling with sexual integrity. And since shelter-in-place orders have gone into effect, traffic to porn sites has skyrocketed. New Life's Every Man's Battle workshop can help.
As they advertise, it really was a no-shame zone. I've now got a herd of men in my corner. That support system is huge.
During this time of social distancing, the Every Man's Battle workshop will be held online Saturday, May 30th. Find sexual integrity, accountability, and connection. Register now to reserve a place at the Every Man's Battle online workshop.
She saw the immediate change. By the end of the day yesterday, her and I had conversations, calm, respectful conversations. We've never been there.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE, 1-800-NEWLIFE. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
We are back. Steve Arterburn here. And, boy, Denise, I'm just glad you called, even though you don't know why you would or anything like that. I'm just glad that you did. And, Alice, what do you say to Denise? Really, really tragic to be kind of on hold here like this.
Denise, I honor the compassion that you have for your nephew, that you want him to get help. To me, that speaks of the strength of your faith and the strength of the healing process that you have been in since the loss of your husband and that you have maintained. That you can see your nephew is so broken and his bad acid trip greatly affected what he did. It's unforgivable, but it's amazing to me that you have compassion for him. This is an awful question, but have you been able to pray for your nephew?
I not only prayed, I wrote to him, and he wrote me back. You know, I saw Carol Kent years ago, and she wrote the book When I Lay My Isaac Down, and it is the first thing. I grabbed that book off the shelf, and I wrote my sister-in-law, and I said, do you want to read this book with me? Do we want to do this together as a family? And we started, but it has just gotten, my lines are so blurred, you know, from being honest with myself and then being the person that maybe God wants me to be. It just feels like those lines are blurred.
Well, and right now, Denise, in this time, you know, when we experience great loss in our lives and then we experience it again, loss is compounded. And so you revisit for a period of time all previous losses with this new current loss.
Sure.
So know that you aren't necessarily, you're not in a stable place right now. You're just trying to process all of this. And this is a family trauma and tragedy because, your nephew's the mother of your nephew, right? You know, everybody connected to this is experiencing a huge loss in the midst of the whole country, you know, being in this frozen place. So it's going to take a lot of time to sort through.
You know, Denise, when it comes to your nephew, I was just sent this video that some people did about Life Recovery Bible, and every one of these people on the video had been in prison. They were given a Life Recovery Bible, and like one guy says, if I hadn't gone to prison, I would have never gotten that Bible, and I would have never gotten help, and now my whole life got better because I went to prison. So really, your nephew, number one, can get a lot of help in prison. But number two, I think the world needs to be protected from your nephew. You know, he may be beyond being able to be free until, you know, he fully has been helped and treated. And that may not be possible any place other than prison. But good things can happen in prison. But I think right now the number one priority with him is that justice be done, not any kind of excuse or leniency with him, so that he gets help, gets his act together, whether in prison or not. It's very unfortunate, and it should be a lesson to anybody else that's messing around with acid. What can what can
Yeah.
happen. But for you, I just want to encourage you to stay on that path that you're on. Do not feel bad if justice needs to be done with the nephew, and also don't feel bad that you don't want him out running free. Don't let any kind of message from some well-meaning person shame you or get you into some kind of guilt trip or something. And just connect with the people that love you and stay the course here.
And Denise, I see you as a light in your family, and I imagine other family members have looked up to you as they watched what you did through the loss of your husband. And you may feel some pressure that they're looking to you now as well for answers. And I want you to know that even in accepting and expressing to your family your own confusion about what your role is and what God would have you do here, even embracing that you are confused and sharing that with your family, it actually ministers to them, because as they look up to you and you make it okay to not know exactly what to do next, to not know exactly what to feel, it gives them permission to feel what they're feeling too. So even in that way, you're leading your family and you're being an example and a comfort to them.
Yep. All right, I'm going to send you Restoration Bible here, and I hope that'll be a great, great way for you to restore the good things in your life. And God bless you, and I hope you'll continue to listen to us. We're really glad that you called here. And God bless you, and hang in there. Let's go to Will. Will's calling us from Charleston, West Virginia. WAVA is the station. Hi, Will. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent. What's going on in your life today?
Well, I have a question that I've never heard addressed, and I couldn't find anywhere in the library online.
Okay.
And the question is, does it even make sense to get married a second time? And I can give you background as you need.
Okay, so give us a little bit more background.
Okay, I was married for over 25 years, and I was widowed about just over 3 years ago. My wife and I had 3 kids, all of whom are out of the house, and I had a good marriage. I always had it in mind that I'd likely get married again, and I had gotten your book and had gone through the recommendations in the dating process, not quite 10, but close.
Yeah.
And as I was going through that and meeting people, and as I have listened to the show, and on the show, there was a conversation between you and Dr. Stoop about all the difficulties of blending families and remarriage. And as I've met people, they have issues, I have issues. And I've just seen that being single is very simple, and getting remarried is very complex and complicated. So I've had the thought, and I don't know if it makes sense or not. Does it even make sense to get remarried again?
Great question. Hey, Will, how old are you?
I'm 52.
52. Well, one thing that I want to say is that so many men, late 40s, early 50s, they're married within 6 months after the wife dies, because they are not really looking for a wonderful partner in life. They're afraid and they're lonely and they want somebody to take care of them. And you're not that person. You're not desperate. And so I think whatever happens for you, it seems like to me you got a pretty good head on your shoulders, and it has more potential to go well for you if you take your time than not. And you're certainly not in a situation where the families need to be blended. But I will stick by this, and then I'll turn it over to Jill and Alice. Usually, blending of families is a very bad idea. And people say, boy, what a horrible thing to say. But it is. And it's such a bad idea that when kids are involved and you're blending a family, you really have to go twice as slow in putting people in a house together. You just think it's going to be wonderful and amazing, and they kind of view it as a hostile takeover, a hostage situation. So, yes, I stick by that we got to really be cautious. And I'm so grateful in our blended family it's just phenomenal. And I owe so much of it to my wife and the character that she's built into the boys. But everybody loves each other, and they get along so well and enjoy being with each other and have so much in common. But beyond that, just you at 52, no kids, maybe you would marry somebody that has children. That's not the same as blending, you know. What do you guys think is the best advice for Will, and knowing he may take your advice and live with it for the rest of his life? So.
Well, then I'm going to say, well, there's no right answer here. Because, you know, you could be happy either way. And I don't think it's a decision that you have to make now and stick with forever. I think creating a life that you feel good about, that has integrity, that's involved with people, where you have a lot of connection, where you're looking and evaluating, you know, where do I want to grow in my life? Where are there voids in my life? I mean, certainly the idea of, you know, for some people, of being alone as they grow older, that can be frightening for some people. But some people have a really rich community around them. And eventually, you know, just as you've experienced this, spouses do die, and we're all alone anyway, and we need our community. So I think really building into all the parts of your life is important. And then in that process, as you are meeting people and spending time with people, you know, you may then decide somebody is worth it, or you're at a time finally where it's like, no, I would like to share myself with a significant other. And just knowing, like Steve said, it takes time. You have to go slowly, and it takes time, and there's more people to consider than just the two of you getting married like the first time. So it's just a different animal in a sense.
Well, I
Alice,
think
any thoughts here?
you're in an advantageous position because
Yes.
you're not in a rush. So you can enjoy the process of dating without making a commitment that one day you definitely will get married or you won't. And I think when your mind changes to, I cannot live without this person, then as you follow Steve's process and you date wisely, then I think when your heart changes, you'll know, all right, now it's time to not just date anymore. It's time to probably move on into a marriage. But for now, enjoy the process, enjoy getting to know people and the experimentation of dating again.
Yeah, Will, best thing in the world for you is you've got guys, men, that when you do get serious about someone, if you do, they're able to say to you, here's something you might have missed. And that's to me, that's just the best thing, is when we've got people that can speak truth to us about someone we have feelings about. But I have high hopes for you, and I think it really is a great thing when people who have the freedom to remarry based on biblical principles, and you do, they find somebody, as Alice said, you'd really feel like, I can't live without this person, or I don't want to live without this person. So you have to keep us filled in on your journey. I'd really love for you to call us every.
Well, let me just say too that you are in a good category age-wise, because there's a lot more women out there who you have a wider range to pick from, right? And I can't tell you how many women that say, I'm hesitant to remarry. I just really want a good friend. I really want someone to go to the movies with.
Yeah.
So, Will, if that's what you're wanting, there are plenty of women out there that would be your friend.
And dating with sexual abstinence is what will
Yes.
help you make the clearest, healthiest decision.
Thank you. Yes.
Will, any other thoughts you want to share with us, or?
No, I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Well, I think you're a great example for a lot of guys need to follow your example and ask themselves, if I am so desperate, I am got to get married, you know, I need to deal with that desperation. And for men and women both, you end up doing something out of desperation, and boy, then you get to experience desperation in an all new way. Will, do you have an Every Man's Bible by any chance?
I do not.
Well, it's coming your way. This is the best-selling men's study Bible, and a lot of women say he never read the Bible until he got this one. And Tell you what I'll do. I'll send you one of mine. If they'll get your name and address, I'll send it out of here, and I'll autograph it to you. And anybody else that wants an Every Man's Bible, they're available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now, the Restoration Bible, it's the newest Bible that I've been involved with. You can get a free one just by calling 1-800-NEW-LIFE or email newlife.com and give them your address. We'll send it to you. 1-800-NEW-LIFE if you need help. 1-800-NEW-LIFE if you can help us. We really do need that help. And by the way, Saturday, that's Every Man's Battle. It's online. You could still get involved in Every Man's Battle. You could still go. These are powerful, powerful experiences with Every Man's Battle and all these other men getting their act together. It really is, for some people, the beginning of being a man. To stop being the little boy looking at dirty pictures and stuff and in trouble and stepping up and being a man. 1-800-NEW-LIFE to find out about Every Man's Battle.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addictions, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
You guys are awesome. You're a blessing to America.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in a biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first step toward genuine spiritual and emotional healing, please call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433.
We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
We are back. Really glad you're with us here today. Joining us in the studio is Larry Sonnenberg, and Larry's got a couple of great stories to tell us as we move forward here. Larry, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Steve. Thank you. I heard you mention Every Man's Battle a minute ago, and it made me think about a couple of things people wrote for us and sent in. One was, my husband went to Every Man's Battle years ago. I already started supporting you financially, but after the amazing change in my husband, we decided to become Club New Life members.
Yay.
Not a lot of detail there, but we know that amazing change. I mean, that just doesn't happen overnight, but it's happened with this family, and that's great.
Mm-hmm.
The other one, there's more story than what he wrote here. You all have no idea how grateful I feel for what you've done for me, my family, my marriage, and my future. I don't think I could ever say or do enough to show you how grateful I am. This came from a non-believer who went to Every Man's Battle. Wow. And after that, he took his wife to intimacy and marriage with him, and they are changed people. He still emails me once in a while, and his life is forever different. He's become a supporter of New Life, and it's just outstanding. He had no idea how messed up his thinking was,
Wow.
and he does now, and life is different. So, folks, you guys, if you're thinking about Every Man's Battle online this weekend on Saturday, what a thing to do. We've had 2 fabulous workshops already online. I was the biggest skeptic about online workshops. Now I'm the biggest promoter, and I don't know if I ever want to go back to getting on an airplane.
Well, you know, one of the big messages here is that a guy that isn't a believer experiences transformation. Now he's a supporter, and he's supporting us to reach more people. If we don't have the radio program, people don't hear about this, and they won't experience that. And so it all comes full circle. Our biggest supporters, no question about it, are people that have experienced help from us in some way or another. And we are so grateful when that happens. And it really is all about us wanting not to have a ministry where people would feel better about themselves or about life, but truly experience transformation from the inside out. And if you want to be part of that, a partner with us in that, help us. We have a matching fund. Every dollar you give is doubled. Every $1,000 you give, it's $2,000 right to us. So please help us reach out and help other people.
Steve, I've got to just say thank you to everybody who's been giving to the matching fund, to the team of people who created that matching fund, and to all of you who are going to give to the matching fund. Can't say thank you enough.
And
Thank you, Larry.
folks, giving by our texting donation system is so
idea.
simple. I did it in about 3 minutes. So join me in donating that way.
Okay, and all that requires is you go to your little message thing to text, and you text NLM match. Text that to 28950, 28950, 28950, and you're in and there, and you're supporting a ministry that is so grateful when you do. All right, let's go back to our phones, and let's talk with Dave. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania is the station, or WFIL is the station there. How you doing, and how can we help today? Really glad you called.
Hey, good afternoon. I was listening to Denise caller on Blur the Other Lines. There's a girl that had a commentary, Daniel.
We've lost Dave.
Okay, well, lost Dave. Let's go to, how about we go to Brian from Dallas, Texas, KWRD. Hello, Brian. How you doing?
Hello. How are you doing?
Doing all right.
Hi. Good. I just had a question. God has been really working with me on my relationship with my beautiful wife. We've been together now, married for 10 years, and we have had a number of ministries that we've been doing together. But before we got married, we were, in our 40s, and we got married. Both had never been married, and we got together, and I had confessed to her all of the struggles over the years with pornography that I had had, and I told her really clearly that that was an issue for me, and she knew about that. And it was really, and I thought, marriage was going to end all that, and it didn't, as many people talk about. And so, and now we find ourselves. She has never been really that interested too much in intimacy, and I find myself I'm struggling with continuing to look at these things. And my question is this: we have a great relationship other than our intimacy. Everything else is really good, but I think that we're not doing it God's way. And God has put this on my heart, that He has made me realize that all that stuff that you see on TV and all that stuff that you see on the internet are lies of Satan. That is not the way God intended it to be. It's not fulfilling. It's not morally right, of course, and we all know that. But it's a lie, and He's revealed this to me during this COVID time where I've been able to have a lot of time. And so I've put blocks on my phone, and I've put a lot of things to make sure that I'm not tempted to do that. But
okay,
we haven't been very intimate, and I just want to know what can I do to really start that up and make that happen, because it's just not been a part of the marriage.
All right, great question. And we'll give you hopefully a great answer here. I'm really glad you called. So many folks dealing with this, not as open and honest and upfront as you are, but right after this, we're going to help you. And I don't know what your issue is, your struggle, we can help if you call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was skeptical going into it.
Temptation is up, isolation is up. It's the very things that feed addiction.
Every day, thousands of women discover their husband is struggling with sexual integrity. And since shelter-in-place orders have gone into effect, traffic to porn sites has skyrocketed. New Life's Every Man's Battle workshop can help.
As they advertise, it really was a no-shame zone. I've now got a herd of men in my corner. That support system is huge.
During this time of social distancing, the Every Man's Battle workshop will be held online Saturday, May 30th. Find sexual integrity, accountability, and connection. Register now to reserve a place at the Every Man's Battle online workshop.
She saw the immediate change by the end of the day yesterday. Her and I had conversations, calm, respectful conversations. We've never been there.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE, 1-800-NEWLIFE.
I was really living a very anxiety-filled life. I turned on New Life, and the topic that day was about anxiety. And just by listening, I got relief.
You can help New Life Live stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the Transformation Welcome Gift, which includes a personal-sized Life Recovery Bible, a Life Recovery Journal, and 5 Life Recovery Workbooks. Plus, there are ongoing benefits like access to the Club New Life video library, the monthly Club New Life CD or download, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, and discounts on workshops.
I did go to Take Your Life Back. That's been amazing. That's why I continue to support the ministry with the hope that not only am I helping my own situation, that I'm helping others as well.
Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
We are back, and I just want to say this. Brian started us off talking about thinking that, like so many others, he said, once I get married, this pornography thing's going to go away, and it doesn't. And a lot of times it gets worse. So, whenever that happens, get some help, and just that's the main.
Well, and Steve, I was thinking, Brian, as you were talking, it sounds like really neither one of you or your wife, are into intimacy, meaning you both have issues with intimacy, right? Hers manifests in that she's not interested. Yours manifests in you utilize substitution for true intimacy. So both of you are really scared and shut down in those areas. And, you both got married later in life, so there were a lot of things you needed to do to circumvent that sexual energy and desire. And sadly, here you are where you could have the real thing, and you both have had such a history of avoidance that it sounds like you really don't even know what it means to be truly intimate when it's the real thing.
You're absolutely correct. That is absolutely correct. And I want to fix it because I want to do it God's way, and I want us to honor Him in that way. And I read in the Bible, the many things that it talks about where sex is supposed to be healthy and those kind of things. And again, we're close to. We hug and we kiss and we hold hands all the time. That's just something we always have done.
Good, but
that too. But the actual physical sex thing has not really been a big part of our lives, and so I want to fix that. But you're absolutely right; you nailed it right on the head. We're both scared, I guess.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
And Brian, you have also given your wife the responsibility of fixing your pornography problem. I think you're starting to change that, but you thought access to her in marriage would fix the problem without you doing sufficient work on it on your own.
Absolutely, and it's all my fault. I know that, and it is a horrible thing. I hate it.
Yeah.
That I have allowed this thing to prevail in my life, and I want to get rid of it. I want to stop it. I want it.
So what are you, what?
Use the Lord.
Okay.
I hope
so what
you
are
don't
you
use-
willing to do? What are you willing to do on your part of the intimacy struggle?
Well, I'm willing to go to counseling. I'm willing to start, and do it and become that way. I'm willing. I've already, like I said, I was putting all these blocks on my phone. We put blocks on the TV. We put blocks on, to try to. I want to battle it. I'm tired of. I want to fight it, and I want to battle it every day, and then heal this relationship with my wife. But and God has led me to this. This is not something that I've.
Yeah.
This has been God's Spirit led for me. He has led me to think this way.
Okay,
Because
so
I-
here's
and I'm glad you're
here's a
listening.
refinement. Here's a refinement I want to offer up for you. Okay.
Okay.
So you have blocked out the temptation. You've done a lot of work in that area, and I think that was really smart, right? And then you said you want to go to work with her on the intimacy problem with her. And so a little refinement to that is a third element here, and that's this, that in you, whether it led to the pornography or it was produced by the pornography, is a defective area of your life, and that area needs work, needs repair. And so, separate from the work with her, when a man like you says, honey, okay, I've blocked all this stuff, try to eliminate temptation as much as possible. Secondly, I'm now done this to get my character back where God wants it to be. And as soon as I begin to make some progress in this particular area, this struggle, then I want us to get help together to work on the intimacy. It has so much credibility when you approach it that way versus, okay, I've stopped the temptation, now let's work together on our intimacy. Well, I just think that's missing an admission that could really move her toward you.
Yeah, it doesn't
did.
really set up a trusting, safe environment to just say, I'm stopping this, now I'm switching gears and I'm over here in your camp, right? Because, Steve, what you're saying is that he's not processed, to have earned the right now to be intimate with her, right?
Well, Brian, a recommendation is to establish 90 days of sexual sobriety and to give your wife the option of sexual abstinence for those 90 days as you get into counseling, as you engage with other men and you find out the roots of the problem and you work on it. Establishing that base, offering that as an option to her, will help rebuild the trust, along with acknowledging I've been bringing other women into our home and into our marriage bed by my use of pornography. I've betrayed you and I've broken the trust between the two of us. How have my actions hurt you? And then letting her bring that pain to you while you acknowledge it without defending, without minimizing, without justifying. It will go a long way in repairing the hurt.
Yeah, I think you've really got some tremendous potential. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, and the last lady who spoke, I really feel what you just said, and I absolutely want to honor that and do what I need to. I recognize what destructive thing this has been, and I want it eradicated, and I want to, and I want her to feel what you said, basically. So counseling is, we do have people we can go get counseling from. I know some people.
Well, let me ask you this. What about the Every Man's Battle experience
Yeah, are you willing?
with other men, you to do that as a couple of things. One, to fix the defect, but to say to her, hey, I'll do whatever.
Oh, I'll run to it. I'll do whatever.
Okay.
I'll run to it. Because God has told me, fix this.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think that's the best. start you have to really jumping in and being able to change things.
Instead of it being we are going to go to counseling, we should go to counseling. Start with I'm going to every man's battle. I'm starting off counseling. Show her that evidence that you're doing the work first, and then it becomes a we after that.
Yeah, I think that's the path you want to go down, and you're just not going to lose. And here's the other thing. Do you have a buddy that you talk to or you can share stuff with or not?
My problem is I have buddies, but they're not believers, and I don't want to talk with them because they're coming from a different point of view. They come from a worldly point of view, and I don't have somebody who is wanting to be a Christian.
Yeah.
I don't have anybody like that would be willing to look at it from God's perspective.
Right.
So I really ask you guys to pray that I find somebody like that, because I'm really wanting something like that in my life.
Well, instead of praying, we're just going to give you a suggestion here. You, whatever healthy, wonderful church you want to go to, and there are so many in Dallas, you get involved in a men's Bible study. You figure out how to make time for that men's Bible study, and that's where you find a guy that you could share everything with. Not having a Christian that you could share your heart with, Christian man, is part of the problem, and it's part of the solution when you find that person. So there's another element to put on there. I'm really glad you called. Now here's what I'm going to do. I'll send you every man's Bible. You're going to love this Bible. I want you to hold on and see if we can't sign you up for every man's battle. You know, it's Saturday, so the 30th. Anybody else can still get in there. And then I'll send you the new Every Man's Battle book. And it's been updated after 25 years with all the new brain science and all the things that we want people to know about intimacy, true intimacy. And, you know, I think there are a lot of guys that think they really have this this male sexuality thing down. And their whole life it's been a counterfeit. It has been close but not even near what God intended it to be. And so you start working on yourself, and then you start working with your wife, and things can be pretty exciting. All right, we'll go to a break. When we come back, more of New Life Live. We'll do a little teaching here and hopefully provide some insight here toward the end of our program. I'd encourage you to join me at 5 o'clock, where we're looking at this eating issue. Hope you have some freedom in that area. That's what we want for you. And so we'll take this break and come right back. More Alice Benton and Dr. Jill Hubbard. By the way, her book, Forgiving Our Fathers and Forgiving Our Mothers, an amazing book at newlife.com, 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
I'm an addict, and I'm trying to get God in my life again.
You seem to be able to get to the crux of a problem quickly.
Our Christ-centered treatment programs can help you break free to embrace all that God has for you and your family.
I just want to thank you guys for bringing me to a relationship with Jesus.
There really is help for marital problems, depression, addictions, panic attacks, and feelings of hopelessness.
I came back with so many tools to help me prepare myself to fight this struggle and this battle that I have every day.
You can start living again today, living the life God intended for you. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
They did care, and they did follow up very lovingly. and it made all the difference in my life.
Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Someone who cares is waiting at the other end of the phone. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Just call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-639-5433.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back. Oftentimes at the break, we laugh, we chuckle. Sometimes there's an insight that we haven't shared, and Jill had a thought that she wanted to share in the situation with Brian. And I think, and Jill, let me just say this before you share it. I think it's so common what you're about to bring up, but so often in the midst of a lot of pain that has been inflicted on a person, we don't bring it up. So it's really, we're doing this, it's touchy, it's tricky here, but I hope that you can hear the spirit with which we're talking about this.
Well, I think, in listening to Brian, we were commenting, he just sounds so sincere and really, love it when someone really owns their issues and wants to do something about it. And he kind of is doing the opposite. He isn't blaming anyone. He's saying, I take full responsibility. And as he was saying that, later I was thinking that, we tend to marry people with our same issues. And I wonder how much his problem actually works for his wife. And that if we had her on the program, we might be looking at it from a different side, So we're dealing with Brian, but there's something in it that at an unconscious level and a conscious level, we choose somebody that reinforces our own struggles and areas of weakness. And when you think about it, if a person has betrayed you with pornography, that's like on a scale of 1 to 100, that's 80. And then it works for your issues and you're at 20. Well, it's the 80's so huge, it's hard for you to look at the 20, but that's where real restoration takes place, I think, is when the 20 person looks at the 20. Really important. So really good point. And I hope and pray people hear what we're saying there, because we're all in this together. And I think sometimes one person has such a huge problem that they're kind of identified as the only problem that's there. And once that gets fixed, everything's going to be great. And it just isn't the case. So very, very, really good point. Then at the break, another thing. Alice had an area that she wanted us to talk about. So I want to talk about that here at the end of the program. Alice, go for it. And if you get weird, I'll let you know.
I start weird, so there's that. Well, I was thinking about Philippians chapter 4 because it has two of my favorite promises in it, that God will give us the peace that surpasses understanding and that he will provide for all of our needs through his glorious riches in Christ Jesus. And what a time when we need those promises to be fulfilled in our lives. But if we're praying for that and we're not receiving those promises from God, we have to look at the premise that he sets up, because he asks us to live life his way. Paul asks us to follow his example in verse 9, that we emulate him, and that's when we receive the promises. So as I was driving to the show this morning, I was going through a confession of sins that I had not proactively confessed to God. Of anxiety, lack of faith, being irritable with my kids and other family members. I hadn't yet confessed that. And then I went through forgiving people that have rubbed me wrong lately and irritated me, or bigger hurts from the past that have been reopened. And we need to regularly engage in that confession and forgiveness so that we can receive those beautiful promises from God. We've got a part to play to be able to receive the blessings that God has to give us.
Any, am I in there anywhere? Anything you need to forgive, or?
You were top on the list.
Top on the list, all right. Typical. Yeah. Well, I do think that we open up Scripture looking for promises from God, looking for anything to help us in our despair, and we forget that there are things that we can do to usher in the promises, and there are some things that we can do to block them. And it's important that we're doing everything we can. I mean, really, that's the whole premise of healing is a choice. It's, you may not be able to be physically healed because God just chooses that's not how I'm going to deal with you. Like Johnny Erickson taught, the great woman of faith, physical healing not there. But look at all the other areas of healing that we can enter into if we have humble willingness. I mean, that's the main thing. So when somebody comes in to your practice, one of you in your office, and they're saying, I'm willing to do whatever it takes, what do you tell them? Well, what does that mean? Willing to do whatever it takes. I mean, they're sitting there, they're getting counseling. A lot of times we have people say, I'm willing to do whatever God wants me to do, but they're not even aware of some of the options of what God wants them to do. What do you tell somebody that says, I'm willing?
Well, I think, too, we have to kind of break it down and look at what does that really look like, because a lot of people, and I hear more than not, I want change more than anything. I want things to be different. But when we really look, and people say they're willing, but then you hit up against all the resistance of what people are often saying is, I want things to change, and I'm in my mind willing, but I'm not really willing to do anything different. Mm-hmm. And it's so hard because we're such creatures of habit, and we expect God to just come in and do something different without us taking the necessary steps. So we do have to do our part, and it's not always easy, right? I mean, when we're willing to do anything it takes, like our last caller, he's got to be willing to step out of his comfort zone, right? He's got to be willing to be vulnerable with some men. And that's something very different than just staying inside the four walls of our house.
Well, go ahead, Alice.
Finding the resistance and beginning to confess, I thought I was willing, but actually I'm not going to forgive that person until they admit that they're wrong. I don't want to give up this sin pattern of mine because it's still very comfortable for me. When we can get to the honest confession of the lack of willingness, I think that's when the really good work starts to happen, because it's by that admission and then allowing the therapist to walk us through it and allowing God's grace to come in and change the parts of our heart that we're unable to change on our own. Mm-hmm. That's when we start to see movement, great movement.
Mm-hmm. Well, when we're looking at options for people, one of the options that never, ever is a great option is passivity. At no time have I ever heard someone say to someone, here's what I think is the answer for you. You just need to be more passive. Where does that, and yet think of how many people, the first infraction in marriage, they just hope for the best, or they wait for God to do something, and they're passive. We need to engage and step things up, not back away or minimize or whatever it is that we do when we're the victim, you could say, of somebody being unfaithful. Passivity doesn't work. But I'll tell you this, willingness involves getting out of your comfort zone, like you said. And sometimes we're worshiping the God of comfort. Some people say, food is your God. No, I don't think food is the God. Here's the God. The God is the God of comfort. And you're using food, and you sacrifice your body, you sacrifice your spiritual strength for the sake of the comfort that food brings you. And I think the person that finally says, no more am I ever going to experience any kind of comfort over character, things like that, that's when the willingness starts to play, and God is the one that gets the victory. Well, we're out of time. I hope and pray something we've said has meant something to you. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE if we can help you. 1-800-NEW-LIFE if you can help us. We are grateful to get to be here, and we're only here because people support this ministry. And so all of you who have supported us, thank you for that. And we'll be right here tomorrow. Join me at 5 o'clock, Facebook Live.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Hi, Steve Arterburn here. Thanks for watching New Life Live on our New Life YouTube channel. You know, you can see it anytime. Hope you'll subscribe, and when you do, hope you'll turn that little button thing on, the bell, so that whenever we post a new video, it'll ring right through. Now, if you go to newlife.com, you'll see the schedule of when we're in the studio, which is helpful to know if you have a question for the program, or you could go to newlife.com or call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. You could do this on the app. I mean, there's so many ways that you can stay in touch with us and know when we're there, because we want to answer your questions. So thanks for watching right here on the New Life YouTube channel, and we'll see you next time. Click here to subscribe.